A null object is an object that will not show up. It's invisible, and you can use it to act as a parent for objects that you want to animate. Now, we already covered how to do parenting, so once we create the null object, the steps will be the same. But once again, when we render out our comp, this invisible controller will not show up. It's very cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Layer, New, Null Object. And what we see here is this little icon. Now this object can be moved around like any other object. And we can scale it, and we can do all kinds of things to this object. And of course the child will follow suit. So what we're going to do is we're going to parent the null to Hannibal here. So on the Hannibal layer, I'm going to grab the pick whip and I'll drag it to the null. And as you can see here, it says in his parent list here that the null is the parent. So I'll click on the null object and I'll move it around. And you notice that the elephant follows around. Pretty cool. I'm going to grab a corner here and I'm going to scale. So I can do my squash and stretch, and I can do all kinds of cool stuff. And of course the elephant is going to do exactly what the parent tells him to do. So you can use this as your animation controller. You can also use a null object, once again, when you have a whole bunch of objects that you want to animate, but you don't necessarily want to see that object. For example, let's say you're doing a space scene, and you want to talk about a whole bunch of planets and stars affected by a black hole. Well, you can have a whole bunch of things rotating or going towards that object, but you don't have to see it because it's invisible, and it could be your null object. So you would place your null object in the middle, and then grab your pick whip and drag everything to the null object, or of course you can use these lists here, and then you do all your animation on the null object itself, and because it's controlling everything, whatever the null does will happen to the children. So if you have a whole bunch of things being sucked into a black hole, just scale the null, and likewise it can go the other way. So that is the magic and wonder of the invisible ninja-like null object.